Hello and welcome to the Quick Draw Mods supplemental tutorial update. My tutorial videos have showed you how to install your rapid fire chip on video, but the one thing that we did not go over was a matrix controller, at least not completely. So this is a matrix board. The difference with the matrix board is it has these three notches or holes over here where your CG board does not have them. And you can see the difference. Also, the sync point on a matrix controller is this black resistor here. It's got top solder point, bottom solder point, and the left solder point. We're going to worry about this top one here on the right hand side. That's going to be your sync button solder point. So that way you don't have to solder to the little tiny solder point on the sync button. I really wish they made these for the CG controllers to make the CG a little easier, but they don't, so that's why on the CG you have to solder up there. But you've already watched a LED install wire and the ground install wire. The power install wire is different. On the CG it's over here, but on the matrix it's the square one next to the two round ones. Now, most of them are already coated with solder. You'll see them, they'll be silver already. But if they're not, if they're copper like this, the solder is not going to stick to it. So just use an X-Acto knife and just kind of lightly scrape on the copper. Now you can see I kind of scraped this one already. So here's ones that are unscraped. Not that you need to use these, just as an example. You scrape them very lightly. You don't want to cut your board or cut any tracers. So just in case it's not coated with solder, you just want to scrape it. It'll kind of get very coppery or silvery as you scrape it. And that'll ensure that the wire will stick to it. The way that I like to install the wire on this matrix controller is I like to just put the wire through the hole from the bottom, take my exposed piece and just kind of fold it, hold it from underneath, you don't have to do it this way. You could just lay the wire directly across the copper and solder it to there if you wish. But as you can see, I kind of got it from underneath. Sorry I was out of frame, but just wanted to make sure it was right. Now it's soldered, as you can see. And just like the left trigger wire from the tutorial on the CG, you wrap it around the bottom of the board, except you're going to come over to the pin on the bottom left hand side. And that brings me to my next point. You're going to get resistors. You'll get these resistors. It's got a red band up top, and then it's got a brown band on the bottom. Doesn't really matter the directionality on how you solder it. I know for most electronics it does, but when it comes to your rapid fire chip, it doesn't make any difference. So what I like to do is I like to solder it direct to the chip. Now, I've already went over directionality. Check out the other tutorial videos. Obviously, when I solder it to the board, it's going to be the chip's going to be facing away from the bottom of the board, and the notch is going to be on the bottom. So what I did since I'm familiar with the directionality, I kind of just cut the two legs off that we're not going to solder to, because you only need the 2 for this one. And on this side, you only need 3 out of the 4. So what I did was I cut the resistor down, and I soldered it direct to the leg that you would solder the wire to on a CG, because you need the resistor. Now, you could cut your resistor down and solder it to the center point here on the controller, and then solder the wire to the other side of the resistor, and then obviously wire it to the chip. I find it easier to just put it on the chip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some hot glue, and install my chip. My glue is hot glued down. Very carefully bend your legs if you feel that you need to bend them to work with them easier. Now what I like to do is, without crossing, I like to bend the resistor down all the way so that it's flat like that. If it breaks off, the leg that you solder it to, you didn't solder it correct enough. Or correctly, I should say. Correct enough is not proper. Anyway, so your resistor is now across. You don't have to worry about it touching the 2 legs that we cut off on the other side, and I kind of bent it on a diagonal angle. The leg next to it, above it, is going to be the leg for the left trigger. Now you're going to have to solder a resistor to this one too if you're doing a 7 mode and your controller's a matrix. So you're going to have 2 resistors. It's going to be very tight, but it can be done if you solder it correctly and you lay it right across right next to it. So you'll have your trigger here and your other trigger here, and of course that's going to require another wire to be wrapped all the way around the controller. But that's your basic install for your matrix controller. So now that I've got it on, I just want to show you the sync button real quick. Obviously, you're going to solder your wire to the chip. Excuse me while I pull out a frame to check it. It's very hard not to get in frame and to solder these. I need to be up real close. Okay, that looks right. Yep, okay. And remember that point that I showed you up here? What I like to do is I like to take the wire and wrap it around the bottom of the capacitor down here. Just kind of wrap it up and around. And the reason for doing this, excuse me, is, as I covered in the other videos, you don't want the wire crossing any of these black pads. You don't want them crossing these black pads, which is your D-pad. So once you've got your wire, you're going to kind of just line it up with that top soldering point. Don't expose your wire too much because there's a soldering point underneath it, and you don't want your wire touching that one too, because you'll kind of ground out the wire. On the sync button, and that'll prevent your sync button from working properly or allow you to switch modes. It'll pretty much render your controller useless. So let me just solder it real quick. Now I'm going to bend it out of the way so you can actually see what I did. Soldered to the soldering point. I know I have it upside down. Yeah, that might be better. It's right there, top point. And it's not touching this bottom point. And even if it was, I've got shielded wire. And notice how the wire is in between the 2 D-pad points and wrapped around the bottom here. And that's it. That's your matrix supplement on how to install a matrix chip. Obviously, with the resistor that I have here, there's the wire to my right trigger, because I'm only doing a 3-mode on this one. I'm just going to solder that wire to the resistor, and that's your connection. Everything else is just like the other tutorial video. If you have any questions, just email, give me a call, and good luck with your install. Thank you very much for buying Quick Draw Mods Mode 7 or Mode 3 mod. Thank you.